It is interesting to see that even after the action was completed in Venezuela, that European leaders still didn't know what was going on. And I think it's very telling about the way that the Americans see our continent now, which has become ever weaker, ever indecisive. We've got this coalition of the willing, this coalition of the useless. What have they done? What have they done? What is the point of setting up this coalition of the willing who've been anything but willing, Paul? And it's embarrassing, isn't it, when the Prime Minister makes this one of his top international priorities. We used to be the world superpower. We have become so diminished, and even our generals are coming out and saying our military's falling apart. This is why America won't bother to call us.
We're not the world superpower, which is why we do need to deal with our allies and create these international alliances across Europe and rearm Europe so we can stand up against the Russians. And I know it drives everybody absolutely up the pole that Starmer is slow, deliberative, evidence-based and loyally. But that is who he is. And he is, like I say, the grown-up in number 10 who actually is looking at the evidence. He's going to get all of those signals coming in from the intelligence services. He'll have taken the phone calls with other allies. He'll wait and see.
I mean,
which is
the middle of the night.
And given it's so fast-moving and so unprecedented, we haven't seen this since the 80s, really. I think it's entirely reasonable he didn't just rush to Twitter
but
and
also, we know Starmer doesn't have an opinion on virtually anything, so he probably doesn't even have an opinion today. He's waiting for people to tell him what his opinion should be, probably waiting for the EU leader WhatsApp group chat to quickly get some more content. But Alex, I think it's an important point.
OK, look, we've got a lot of movement there. Well, let's just see if we can spot Maduro. There's some flashing lights, perhaps just from the plane there, but a few people off-boarding there. There looks like a lot more movement happening on the plane now. Perhaps the area has been secured around Stewart Air Force Base, which would signal the president, or the former president of Venezuela, is about to literally touch American soil. We expect he'll be escorted by both FBI and DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, of course, who have been the ones who seemingly have been looking after former President Maduro. We still think that he is still on the plane at the moment, but we're going to keep you posted as and whenever there's a bit of movement, we're going to come back to it. There's lots of people still ushering out. This will be a really important part of the process, which is making sure everything is ready. Nothing can go wrong, because, Jane, if something went wrong in this little bit here on American soil, it would completely devalue everything that's happened so far, wouldn't it?
Yes, but I think I trust the Americans to do these things extremely professionally and confidently and competently.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jen. It does look like there's people taking photos now, and there's a very slow walk with a lot of people there. I know it's dark.
Or is that a flashing light under the walkway?
Yes, there is. But there is a man facing backwards who looks like he might be holding a camera or something. Now, given the fact that the camera is panning down, then we suspect that Maduro might be part of this convoy of people. It certainly looks like it to me. There's a slow walk down the stairs, which may mean a man is being slowly walked down the stairs with those agents. That's what it looks like to me. We think this is President Maduro about to touch American soil. There you go, for the first time, as he faces those charges in the United States of America. If they pull this off, I'm sure he'll be rushed into a top armoured vehicle and be under heavy protection by the American authorities there. Of course, we'll try and keep you posted there, but we do believe now, breaking, that former President Maduro of Venezuela has landed and touched down on soil of the United States of America. There will be many people around the world watching this image, a historic moment for sure, as President Trump will have signalled a successful operation extracting the so-called dictator out of Venezuela, and now peacefully, at least somewhat peacefully, into the United States of America. Now, I know this is a very dark shot here. I'm struggling to see it myself, but we do believe he's being marched over there into military vehicles in the United States of America. Jamie, a moment of history being made here, something that I didn't expect I'd see in my lifetime. We've seen, Saddam Hussein being captured and then killed quite quickly. Many others, they never really get brought to America. The same for Osama bin Laden, is eliminated at the moment in time. Not the same here for Maduro. They want to trial.
And I think what's interesting, actually, this is a bit of a two fingers to the Hague, I think, as well. Do you know what? The American people are actually going to take matters into our own hand when it comes to getting justice. And what is very interesting about what we've just seen, I think, is that this was obviously a very complex operation. It's like phase one is complete. He's now on American soil, being marched, obviously, surrounded by what looks like lots of...
Yeah, and just to give some commentary to the audience here, we can see DEA officers with their smartphones taking pictures. We don't know whether that's... probably might actually just be part of this whole process, which is capturing the moment. It looks like Maduro in blue there with his something over his head, walking very slowly. He's possibly got something covering his face there. There is, a convoy of officers here. A convoy would be, there is so many, I can't even tell you. It looks like he's been flanked by the DEA and now is moving into some sort of aircraft hangar. There's been cameras there being shot by, of course, by DEA officers as well, taking pictures. There is a final picture of the plane. We assume that Maduro will be on his way to a court in New York very soon. Now, perhaps we don't know whether his wife will be in a separate convoy. We don't know. It doesn't look like they were together. If that was Maduro, that doesn't look like they were together. I highly suspect it was Maduro. Perhaps his wife was kept separately. We don't know. We'll, of course, let you know as and when that happens. Now, we'll show you some replays of that footage in just a moment. It's a little bit difficult to see here in the studio, but what you guys weren't seeing was a man in blue being walked very slowly across the tarmac of the Air Force base there, and with DEA officers taking pictures of him. Now, there are reports that Maduro will be escorted in a helicopter, taken by helicopter to his next location. We're not exactly sure where that is, but again, we will let you know as and when we do. Quite the operation, quite an operation here, Jane. Again, historic moment here for the United States of America and a historic moment for Donald Trump's presidency, which isn't even yet a year in.
Yeah, well, it's the second term. He can't stand again, which means he's got free rein now. He doesn't have to keep that supporter base as his first priority. But I think it will be interesting to see the time frame now, how quickly they want to see the charges brought and how quickly they can get him in front of a court, because I think now this extraordinary removal of whether you call him a president or a dictator.
And this is shots from earlier on, by the way, just him walking down the aircraft stairs there as he makes his way to touch American soil for the first time, perhaps, Jane. But Paul, no matter what you think of Donald Trump, this will go down as one of the more successful precision military operations, something that many countries would be astounded that he could pull off with so fast, so quick. It puts people like Putin to shame, if you want to put it that way. Yeah, that man couldn't even take Kiev with all his power and his nuclear weapons in weeks, and it looks like Trump's been able to get rid of this bloke out of Venezuela in a matter of hours.
It's the Delta Force's, triumph, actually, isn't it? They've managed to achieve this, as you say, surgical extraction. Only really the Israelis, I imagine, are the people who could have also managed this, in terms of elite forces. So that part of the story needs to be told, and we'll find out in subsequent days, I'm sure. Like I say, let's just be conscious that the civilian deaths will mount from that bombing that we saw, because it was so ferocious. Those were not empty buildings they were bombing. So that will unravel too. The big piece now is what happens next, because you create any nation that you create a vacuum like this by physically removing the power broker. What usually happens is it descends into rancor and civil war. So how do you prevent that is the question.
But I think this is one of the even more extraordinary things, and I can't believe we've not really mentioned it. The fact the US is saying it will now administer Venezuela.
Yeah.
So that is.
But what does that mean? Governor General? With the American troops?
Similar to what happened in Iraq, which is probably a military administration at the start, at the beginning. I highly suspect that. However, we do know that there are opposition figures in Venezuela. I suspect the American military and its intelligence service personnel will have a big record of people they would like to vet to run this
And I'm pretty sure also what will become unravelled is that they wouldn't have just turned up and taken this guy. There must have been inside collusion. So one of the rival factions may well have worked with the CIA
to make this happen.
And that's the vital thing. We need a transition to a democracy.
This has been in the planning.